Hi there guys, welcome back to the Red Sea Reefer 425XL Deluxe build. In the last video, if you've not watched it, watch it. We installed the clarity and the plumbing, and I intended to do another quick video once we've got the skimmer on and a bit more of the work done, and possibly the cabinet on the right hand side. But as you can see, the cabinet's not taking place just as yet, and that's just because I looked at the timescales involved, and it was going to the cycle, we're going to use the Red Sea Mature kit. That takes 21 days minimum, so I thought I may as well get everything else started, and that gives me 3 weeks to get that cabinet unit built. I've got it all drawn up and designed and everything, how I'm going to do it. Got all the materials, I'm just literally waiting for a dry day to get out there and start cutting the wood, ready to start building it. But in the meantime, while the weather's not been overly great, I've decided to get the left hand side of the sump all custom fitted and all done after the clarity. So I'll literally go in, I'll show exactly what we've done, and then I'll go up into the tank and show you what we've done in the tank as well. Now obviously on the last video I'd installed the clarity. That's actually now up and running. I'll explain a bit more about that in a bit. I've also installed the Kessel H80 Refugium Light. In that section there, we're going to actually have quite a big Refugium, and I'm hoping that that light there is going to do the business and get that growing for me. I'm not sure what we're going to use it. I think we're going to maybe use Cheeto or something like that, or Kato, however you say it, just because it doesn't go asexual and start nuking the tank. So yeah, we're thinking about Cheeto or Kato for the main one. And that Kessel H80 there, I've installed it. Really easy to install and fit. If you want to buy one of them at the moment, apparently you get a free bracket with it, mounting bracket with it. I got a free one with it. I don't know if it automatically comes with it, I don't know. But I got the free mount with it. So I'm looking forward to getting on with that. I've never had a Refugium. Wanted to try one on the Reefer 170, but this gives me a really good opportunity to really have a good punt at it, and let's see how we get on. The other reason why I'm thinking about a Refugium is at the moment I'm still 50-50 about whether to carry on with Red Sea, the Red Sea products, so doing the 10% water change each week along with the supplements and the coral colours, because I've had so much success with the 170, or do I switch to something like Triton, just so that it cuts out the water changes each week, and it's more of a hands-off approach for me than I'm used to, because I'm used to constantly monitoring it and looking at it. Don't get me wrong, I'll still have to do all the testing and stuff if I use Triton, but the water changes will be gone. I'll literally be dosing the same amount each day, whatever that may be, and that at the minute that's my biggest worry, because what I don't want to do is go and have alkalinity swings or anything like that. It's going to kill off the SPS that's doing so well in my tank. So at the minute I'm still doing research on it, still talking to my local fish store about it. They're great. They run a Reefer 750 on the full Triton system, and their SPS tank is amazing. So if I can have the same success that they've had, then I'll be on to a winner. But obviously it's just a transition over. And if I do decide to do that, it's going to have to be I'm going to have to try and do it so that I lower the parameters in the 170 to match that of what Triton suggests, and then keep an eye on the alkalinity every day for, I don't know, a week or two, and get used to the initial dosing, and then get some lab tests off to Triton. But we'll see, and if I do decide to go down that route, I'll obviously update you on that, and I'll do a full series on the Triton method, so we'll see. In the back, I've finally fitted the manifold that I built. That was actually originally built for the 170, but it's going to work perfectly for this. On the right hand side is the hose nozzle. I'm going to run a Jabo DC 2000 return pump up to that. That's going to sit in the return skimmer section. That's going to feed that. I can adjust the flow with that ball valve. It then goes up and down to the first reactor. In that, I don't know what I'm going to run yet. Chances are it might just be Seachem Biomatrix or something that I run in that. Then it goes through to the second reactor. I'm thinking that's going to be Reefer if I need it, but obviously I can switch it off with the ball valve. And then on the third, with another ball valve, I can slow the flow right down to use for the D&D UV sterilizer. I've never used a UV sterilizer before. Asked around, asked quite a few people's opinions on it. There's quite a mixed opinion on it, really. Some people think they're great, some people don't like them at all. But I looked at it and I thought it was £100. I am planning on having tangs and things in this tank, and I thought for £100 I'd rather put it in now while I'm doing all the building, while I'm doing all the fitting and sorting all the wiring out and everything. I'd rather fit it now than fit it afterwards once I've finished everything off, including the cabinet and everything. So that's the only reason I've done that. To match the theme, I'm thinking about actually spraying the nozzles green, just to match it all, because in the dark, when I put the blues on, because I fitted these LEDs, obviously they're multicolour up there, but that's actually how we see white light. When I put the blue version on, the green is literally luminous, glows in the dark. I didn't even realise it was going to do it, so it does look pretty cool. So thinking about doing them green to match the theme. But I don't know if you can see, but I've actually fitted some trunking that goes all the way along the left and then all the way along the back to hide all the cabling. Obviously at the minute you can see, if you see it, look at the back, you can see the Tunzi ATO, because I've unhooked that off my 170 and I've hooked that up to this, just to keep that going. But I do need to tidy that up along with the cables there. I need to tidy all those up so they can't be seen. Just there, that's the UV sterilizer switch, and that's the control center basically that lets me know if it's on and if the UV light's running. What chances are, what I'm going to do is have that hooked up and constantly running anyway. So I'll have a hose coming out of this one going directly down into the Refugium, but all I'll do is I'll just switch the UV bulb off, so it'll constantly be running all the time, and then the UV bulb will just be switched on. I mean, I've been advised to maybe just have it on when I introduce new fish, and have it on if I see any signs of white spot or disease or anything like that. I've also heard that it actually really clears the water up. So, you know, I don't know, I might run it a couple of hours a week, because I've also been told that it also helps with the algae on the glass and stuff. So I might run it for a couple of hours a week just to see if it does help with that. Obviously it's a big test because I've never had one before, but obviously you'll soon find out how that gets on. So yeah, obviously the Clarity is also installed. I've literally only just hooked it up, because with the plumbing I obviously glued the gate valve, glued the union, glued that piece, but then the 45-degree elbow I didn't glue, and anything below that I didn't glue. And the reason for that was so that I could move the Clarity up if I needed to. If I found I was burning through rolls too fast, I could cut the pipe. Don't know if you can see it, but I could cut the pipe just in there, raise the Clarity up, and then the rolls would last a little bit longer, but we'd see. So I've not had it hooked up because when I initially filled the tank with water, which I'll go into in a sec, I literally just filled it up and got it running so I could mix all the salt in the tank. And then once it was all mixed up properly, I'll put the rock and the sand in after. But because I did that, I literally had a sandstorm for about 3 or 4 days. It was awful. It had all died down, but I noticed that I was getting loads of sand in the bottom of the sump. Now I remember when I got that in the 170 at the start, I just left it and then couldn't work out why. My nitrates were just always at 20. I couldn't bring them down. And then I worked out basically that sand in the bottom was just becoming a nitrate trap. So what I did is I decided to constantly keep clearing it. I've had a Bubble Magus Mini 70 reactor. To be honest, it's the one that was from the 170 that I think's crap. But I've just had that running with floss just to get rid of that sand. I've literally put floss everywhere. I unhooked the Clarity so it wouldn't burn through the roll, stuck a filter sock on the end of it and filled that with floss as well. And it has done the job. So now I've hooked up the Clarity. It is already pulling stuff out, even though I'm not really doing anything. So it is pulling stuff out. But I will let you know how that gets on. I'll also show you now what we've done with the tank. So there we go. Now obviously I decided to fill the tank up and get the salt mix in so that I've got time to build the cabinet and get the tank cycling while the cabinet unit's being built. But on top of that, I've put the rock in and I've put the sand in. Now believe it or not, there's 3 bags of Red Sea live reef base, the pink version, the bigger grain version in there. There's 3 bags of that, and there's 1 tub of 7 kilogram reef flowers, all pearl white sand, also in there. And when I was putting it in, to be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to be enough, but it has actually levelled out quite well. Obviously, the return nozzle's really pushing that out at the moment, but I'm not too fussed, because once the rock from the 170 goes in, I'm hoping that that's going to sort the flow out a little bit better. On the right hand side, I've got the real reef rock, and I decided to make a bit of a cave structure. Plenty of swim throughs just for the tangs and the different fish to hide and stuff. You can't see it at the moment. That is actually a very big cave structure. It's just because all that sand is just brushed up straight into that hole. I am going to get that all out once I've got all the rocks sorted. And then as we come across that there, obviously the sand is way too deep there, it's all brushed over, but there's a nice little ledge there for putting coral on. As we go over, there's a nice big mound there, but I've tried to keep it very level and quite far from the top, and that's just so that I can really have a good shot at SPS. I want to try and get plenty of SPS across the top, decent flow, and let's see what we can do in terms of growth. And then here, that's another swim through. Again, you can't see it that well just because of the sand brushing up and stuff, but there is another big swim through there. And I've tried to make the tank a decent view from all angles of this tank. Obviously that's going to be a good view. And just plenty of places to try and grow coral. While I'm on that there is the MaxBet Jaya XF230. To be honest, I'm really impressed with them. They really kick out the flow far more than I thought they were going to. I've got one on the right and one on the left. Yeah, flow wise, unbelievable. It's not the easiest of controllers to work out there, if I'm honest. It might just be me, but for me it just wasn't the easiest to try and work out, and in the end I did have to do a few YouTube videos just to try and get to grips with it. They have got a couple of automatic settings on there, so at the minute I've got the automatic OGC setting on there, which basically makes them work together to create constant ocean tide flow. There's also the LTC, which is the lunar one, but I've just gone with the OGC for now just to see how we get on. Obviously once the coral and stuff is in, I'll really have to play with it and work it out, because the last thing I want to do is blast my corals to hell like I did on the 170 when I cleaned the wave makers on that. But yeah, I will let you know, and as I work out the controller a bit more, I might do something a bit more custom, we'll see. But one thing I've learned from the 170 is once you've got the flow kind of right and how you want it, just leave it alone, don't play with it, because the corals will get used to it anyway. And then obviously on top of that, I've also got the 2 AI Hydra 26HD set up. Great lights, to be honest with you. I've used it on the 170 for over a year, fantastic light, but believe it or not, I had a major issue with this one. Basically they'd been on 3 days, and I came down in the morning and literally underneath, obviously the lights are on at the moment, but one of them was just flashing red, and on the back of the light there was also a flashing amber light, and I thought, oh Christ, don't know what's actually happened there. So and believe it or not, it was a Saturday as well, and I thought, well, I'm never going to get any help today, but I tried anyway. So I spoke to one of the guys at Red Sea that I know on Facebook, and you know what, I cannot knock Red Sea's customer service whatsoever. They are spot on in terms of customer service. I messaged the guy, he got back to me within 15 minutes to say he'd basically sorted out for me. It looked like it had got to go back. The symptoms of what was wrong with it had got to go back. And yeah, I literally packed it up. He sorted it out for me. It was picked up on the Monday, and a brand new one was delivered on the Tuesday. I mean, you can't knock that for customer service, and You know what, as soon as it happened, I thought, you know what, thank Christ I did decide to stay with Red Sea and stay with the Hydras. Because custom service wise, honestly, you really can't knock it. And that's another reason why I'm really tempted to stay with the products, because I've had so much luck with the 170 and so much fortune with the 170. But yeah, I'm probably going to cut it short there, guys, at the 15 minutes. Because I've got plenty more to talk about and plenty more to do, because I'm going to start talking about the cycle and how we're going to cycle the tank and what the next steps are, along with what the next steps are in the sump, and hopefully on the next video maybe the start of that cabinet unit being made, because at the minute, I'll show you, but I can't stand that. Look at that lot. Now I've put drip loops in and everything at the top so that it's never going to leak down, but for me, that's just a disaster waiting to happen. So the sooner I can get that unit built, the better. I'm going to tidy everything up. I cannot stand wires everywhere, and it pees me off just looking at it, to be honest. But yeah, that cabinet unit's going to get built, and hopefully we can do something decent with it. If you've got any questions or anything about the build so far, or what we're doing, or if you've got any advice or anything like that, please drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear people's advice on the UV and on the Refugium and things like that. I've never had either of them, so it'd be interesting to see what other people's views are that are watching this channel. But yeah, either like the videos if they're any good to you, subscribe if you want to see the rest of the build and see previous videos. And like I said, if you've got any questions or if you've got any advice, just drop it in the comments below. I'd really appreciate it. But thanks guys, hopefully this will look a little bit different next time you see it. But we're getting there. Cheers guys.